Another trip to Nintendoland, Alex O'Neill. We're
Mike
here.
Burgess,
That's
put your arms
right.
up. We're on the roller coaster to Nintendo hype.
I'm driving my cart around into the port or whatever it is where Nintendo Land is. I've never really
Sure.
I don't know if it's been clearly defined, but oh well. Don't think
You
about
like
it
to take
too
a
much.
train there. It is like that is the vibe I
Train's
get.
good. That would be a good vehicle for sure to take a trip to just all the Nintendo news and video games. This is our monthly Irrational Passions podcast. I'm going to put monthly in quotes, as I will say.
Yeah,
We'll say
we adhere to Nintendo's schedule.
yeah, we definitely adhere to that. So like this will technically be our March episode. We mainly held back on it because, as you know, there's a big Nintendo video game released pretty much right around as we're recording
I
this.
put it at the end of the month, you know.
And of course, it's like basically the last week of the month they put it out. So we're recording after playing some of that, which is the new Kirby game. We'll talk about that later in the show. But I think on the other side of having a little bit of a later show to the later news is we have a lot of news and things to talk about, which is nice.
In our defense, Nintendo decided to drop huge news right after we did the last podcast. About Pokemon.
Yeah, they dropped huge news about that, which is our first big news item. But they also dropped news like literally the day we're recording this, so that also kind of is nice in some ways. Are pretty much right here. But let's get into the news that we have to talk about. And since the first real big thing that happened right after we recorded our last episode was there's a new not only a new Pokemon game, but it is the next generation of Pokemon is coming later this year. Generation 9. Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet are the names, and it's not like a Arceus. It's not like a a Let's Go game where it's sort of a spin-off game. It is the next generation. They straight up showed the three new starters, which all look. I like all their designs. They're
all great.
They're all very cute. I definitely like Fuecoco the most. I would say.
Sprigatito speaks to me.
If I had to pick a favorite, those ones. The duck is cool too.
The duck is also great. To be fair,
Quaxley is a very good name. I like the name.
Yes, it's all good.
So it's all good. They kind of just dropped this randomly on a Sunday, and I realized after the fact the reason it was on that Sunday is because that was Pokemon Day. Like that's like the anniversary Pokemon date. So they just stuck to the date and just did it on a Sunday.
This hadn't leaked or anything. Like this was a very big surprise.
Yeah, no leaks. Just Sunday they were like, "Yep, here it is. Next generation. This is going to be a fully open world Pokemon game." They have said it themselves. You can go on the Pokemon website and it says it is a seamless open world to explore. And they've honestly given like way more vague info right out the gate compared to some other generations, because like we don't even know the name of the region. We've just seen the starters and the names of the starters, and we've seen like some kind of early shots that they showed in the trailer of like some cool vistas. Like there's this cool kind of Spanish town that you can walk around, and that seems like largely where the region is kind of inspired by is kind of Spain in that kind of eastern or I guess that'd be Western Europe.
Western European, yeah.
And they had that cool like kind of like Spanish town. They had kind of like a little Spanish villa where like it looks like maybe that's where you're kind of starting in the trainer house when you first start your adventure, which looked really nice. I'd say like the lighting looked very nice compared to a lot of the other Pokemon games, which kind of admittedly didn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like definitely the number one thing of just being like, oh yeah, there's a sunset and you can see the sunset reflecting off the water, and like, wow, this lighting in and of itself is already making this game look like much more impressive than like kind of the most recent Pokemon entries from a visual standpoint. But there's still a lot of questions about this game, because I think, our last episode, I talked a lot about playing Legends Arceus, and I did like that game. I did more or less complete it. I didn't do a lot of I did kind of the main quest. I didn't really go through the post game of it. But I did really like that game, but it's hard to say because it seems like both these games were maybe developed simultaneously, more than likely. So I don't know if those games will have the same exact catching mechanics and battling mechanics. It seems like there'll at least be similar battling mechanics where Pokemon are out in the wild and you can just run up and start a battle. Like it seems like that'll still be the case, but whether you can like, just catch them in the wild like you could in Arceus is still remain to be seen. We don't really know for sure, but it was definitely surprised. I think everyone was just surprised to be like, wow, it's a quick turnaround for a massive Pokemon game.
Yeah. I'm into it though. I definitely got the same vibe of this was developed the same time as Arceus, and
Yeah.
I am curious how much DNA they're going to share. But I have a feeling, with the seamless towns, like maybe that was a thing that they wanted to do early on with Arceus, and they decided that it would not make sense for that game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like we'll get more of focus on battles. I feel like the core stuff might come back, like the inherent skills. I forget what they're called in Pokemon.
Nature, like their natures or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And EVs and IVs and maybe some of the more harder edge parts of Pokemon and kind of merge the ideas, which, if assuming these games were made simultaneously, I'm sure Game Freak knew when they were making Arceus, like, oh yeah, this is what people are going to want.
Right.
So this shouldn't be surprising, but they clearly had a lot of forethought with it. I know Game Freak gets a lot of grief for churning out video games, certainly, and a lot of the lack of innovation. So I hope that because everything is kind of close to the chest right now, that it's because they really want to surprise and delight people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hopeful for this game too. Is like, even as somebody who liked both of the two previous Pokemon entries, like Sword and Shield, what it is, and it's like it was a pretty standard Pokemon adventure, but obviously it was like the first kind of console,
I liked
fully
it as well.
HD console Pokemon game. So I think there was definitely a lot more eyes and scrutiny on what people had envisioned that to be. So like I think it definitely had a lot to live up to, and I think that just came with the whole mixed and discourse that game had years ago that I don't want to like grudge up too much. But most recently back in this is January, that game came out the end of January.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Legends, Legends Arceus. Like I did really enjoy that. I liked a lot of the ideas it introduced. So if they're like we both said, like if they both started kind of develop at the same time and kind of splintered in two different ways, but with similar core ideas of like kind of reinvigorating or kind of modernizing, I guess is a term you could also use to like bring these Pokemon games into bigger open world environments, having more like streamlined and interesting catching and interacting with Pokemon in the world mechanics that like Arceus has a lot of. Like if they can bring a lot of that stuff still into Scarlet and Violet, which I think there will be at least some of that, because we've already seen even the basic like stuff, the trailers and images they've shown. Like Pokemon are still like walking around in the environments, and the environments are even like look even kind of larger than some of the areas we saw in Arceus. And so like I'm definitely pretty excited for this one, and we still have not seen a lot of it because they kind of just gave that trailer, and then we kind of haven't seen much in-depth details or a lot of new other Pokemon. So I'm looking forward to seeing all that.
I'm curious what the gimmick is going to be. I feel like it'll be an evolution on the strong style, speed style from Arceus. I think it'll be something combat related that makes it more, that kind of complex turn-based style.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious about that too, because that definitely has been a thing over the course of these Pokemon games. It's like, I think, I hope they've not really repeated a lot of those gimmicks over multiple games. So I expect not to see those.
Yeah, Gigantamax probably isn't going to come back. Yeah.
Gigantamax Pokemon, probably aren't.
Yeah, Mega Evolutions won't be there probably still.
Yeah, probably no Mega Evolutions, but yeah, there could be like variation of Strong and Swift Style or whatever they were called from that.
Yeah, Swift Style sounds right.
Yeah, I did like that. That stuff was interesting. It was simple, but it's still a cool way to kind of change up
mix it up.
Yeah. The one other detail I did see about this, which is more of like it was more of a theory that we can maybe end on here, that I think is really cool, is just like kind of the story ideas that people have come up with this game. Because there's like a whole live action scene of the trailer that's also in there, and people have like found little like kind of maybe like potential Easter eggs like alluding to like more about the world of this new generation of Pokemon. And one thing people found is like there's these two big sigils that are like kind of freeze frame. I'll try and see if once I have the trailer and in the edited version of this video version of the podcast you can watch on youtube.com/irrational passions. I'll try and put the freeze frames up. I've like basically found like two, like they look like school sigils. So people are like maybe thinking that like Scarlet and the Violet are like essentially like the schools, more or less. Like they'll probably have different names than that. Like it won't be School Scarlet or Scarlet.
Yeah,
maybe
like Scarlet Academy, Violet Academy. I think
that
could be it,
or something like that. Because I think they're like the badges are even like fruits in that same color. Like I think it's like there's like an orange and like a grape. I think are even the things.
Grapefruit Academy.
Yeah, it could be something like that. And so basically people are thinking maybe it's going to be like a rival school situation, and you're maybe like you know if you have Pokemon Scarlet, you start at that Orange Academy, and you then maybe go to other academies rather than maybe like going to like gym battles or something, which would be cool.
Sure.
That
like, could be really cool. If there are two different starting locations, like I don't know if you remember my Pokemon meets Breath of the Wild pitch from way back in the day. I think I did an episode in Nintendoland. But part of that was like essentially the 8 gym towns. You could choose any of the 8 to start at, and each of them would have different starters, right?
Yeah.
So that could be like what sets you off. So if it's a similar idea of like you start at one academy or the other, and they're actually different locations in the map, and then your kind of journey is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah,
obviously balanced for either or, but
yeah, maybe like meet different characters along the way, or
or just take a different path.
Yeah, go to maybe in one game you like go to one school first, and another game
and the other you go to some other location. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would definitely be cool. And honestly, thinking of that would be a little bit of an evolution of what whatchamacallit did, Sword and Shield did, because there was in Sword and Shield a sequence where
I brushed dust off my...
okay. I was just making sure because I thought I lost you, but that's okay.
I just like push, and it's just I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. But this is what I was saying was basically in Sword and Shield there was like a more basic idea of this, of like in Sword and Shield, like certain towns had different actual full-on gym leaders with different types of Pokemon. So like I think in like Pokemon Sword there was like a rock gym for like the 6th gym, and then like in Shield that gym was like an ice gym, and it was a different person you would actually go, like a completely different gym leader you would go and talk to and have a different battle with. So evolving on that idea of like maybe you have you started at one school in one version and maybe go to different schools to battle them, or even different like gyms, and the gyms are in the schools, or however they want to
like it's fully really open cool. in theory, so maybe you can go anywhere at any time, but like because where you are at on the map, like maybe 2 opposite sides of the region, you would just obviously go to whatever's closest, and that would be different. So
and that would definitely lean into like ideas they had in Arceus too, right? Of like Arceus, like you couldn't go. It definitely was it was definitely way more gated in terms of like their multiple zones that are big open worlds. But like in those open world little areas, like enclosed areas, there were places that were like a little bit safer for you to go to at a certain level, or you could go there or try and go there immediately and like probably get your ass kicked by a Pokemon that's like way over leveled. And that was like a fun aspect to that, of like actually letting you kind of explore at your own kind of pace. In a little bit like more closed way, not as fully open as something like Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring or something like that usually is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I guess we know now the one sole big Nintendo game for the holidays as we get into our next piece of news. And that is that Breath of the Wild 2, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, has officially been delayed to spring of 2023.
I texted Nabishin and said my birthday's canceled.
Yes, that's right. Sorry, it just said we're recording this on Alex O'Neill's birthday. So Alex O'Neill, happy birthday! And
thank you.
This will be after.
I had to make it about myself for a little bit.
Exactly. You have to get it in there.
I had to get it in there at least once. They announced it yesterday, the day before we're recording. And it was right. It was right before my birthday, of course, but also because I'm very aware of this because it is on my birthday. It's the end of the fiscal year for video game companies for the most part. So this is exactly why they announced this.
Yeah, totally. A lot of stuff. Yeah, that seems like the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Holding it all the way till here. Or I guess they pretty much were forced to be like, yeah, we got to push this back. But I mean, definitely a bittersweet thing for me personally. I would say out the gate is like I'm incredibly excited for Breath of the Wild 2. Breath of the Wild is still one of my favorite games. This honestly, in some way, gives me more time to maybe go replay that if I even could. I don't know if I could right at the moment though after playing so many hours of Elden Ring. But regardless, I think this is okay with me, mostly for the fact that like Nintendo still has like a pretty stacked year of games, and so like I think they can be totally fine doing this, really, because like they have tons of other games they can already fill this gap with. And now
they've got stuff we don't know about too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Stuff we don't know about yet, and even all the stuff we know that's been announced that maybe doesn't have a full-on date. Like those are a lot of really awesome games to look forward to. And now this even pushes them into like, I feel like before they've not given like a specific, like they've given a window. Like I don't think
they said 2022 was the most they'd ever said.
I think that's what I thought too. Like they've only most said 2022. Right now they specifically said spring 2023. So that means we're more than likely like getting this probably in like March, like a year from now would probably be a safe bet, I would say.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's already so many Switch games specifically coming out this year that like we got, I think April and May, there's nothing super major at the moment that's jumping out the top of my head. I know there's like that Live Alive. Remake.
Advance Wars was going to come out, but that got postponed.
Yeah, that got postponed due to current world events.
Yes,
and then. But then there's like, there's Splatoon 3, there's Bayonetta 3, there's Xenoblade Chronicles 3, a lot of threes there. There's the Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. There's we just talked about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and like you said, tons of stuff we don't know about. I think this was I feel like I saw people already boiling back up the idea of having some kind of Zelda double pack
remaster. Yeah, I think that'll happen.
Bring the two Wii U remastered games, what is it, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, as like a single package, and just put them out on Switch, because why not at this point?
Yeah,
I think people would.
I think that'll happen too.
I think people would be pretty happy with that too. Like I'd probably buy that.
It's a good way to tie it over. If they like sweeten the pot by like making it like Majora and Ocarina 3D in there, maybe not like change it all from the 3D version, but just brought over to Switch, I think that could be great too.
Yeah, there definitely is like something they can fill in while we wait for Breath of the Wild to come, for sure. But yeah, there's just already tons of Nintendo games that are coming this year. So like in some ways I was kind of okay when we saw they have like Eiji Aonuma came out and did like a little video presentation, show off his fresh cut, and was just like, hey, we have news on Breath of the Wild. We're pushing it back because we need more time till next year.
So here's 3 seconds of new footage.
Here's 3 seconds of new footage for YouTubers to like frame by frame analysis for the next year, like sickos.
Yeah, waiting for that dissertation on it.
Yeah, exactly. You can see the Master Sword's broken here, and the hand looks like this, so clearly it's this, and then and who knows what you think.
Master Sword being broken is evocative imagery. I'll give them credit.
Yeah, for sure. It is definitely definitely a shot that you're just like, it definitely was
something's going on here.
It's definitely an interest-piquing little shot they gave there, for sure, and new shot that they gave in there. So
they said, there's a Sky World and the Hyrule and more. And I think people are wondering what that could mean as well.
Yeah, like actual like new mechanics rather than like necessarily like
or like alternate realm, maybe like a dark realm. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Or like separate areas that maybe act as dungeons. I think like there's gonna be a lot of dungeons in this game. Like that's my bet, awesome. Is that we might get like a full 8 set of dungeons, like Link to the Past type deal.
Yeah, that got broken open somehow. I'd be totally down.
I'd be down too. I like
to some dungeon stuff.
I like Breath of the Wild's dungeons, but I would also like obviously I think Hyrule Castle is honestly one of the best dungeons that they've
Yeah,
made, and that's like the only traditional dungeon in that game.
yeah,
So if they just do more stuff like that, where it's just like different areas and hidden items and like maybe a secret item, like that is the item of the dungeon buried deep inside that you have to kind of go looking for,
yeah,
I would be very down.
yeah. And like they have to give you the journey to clearly that Master Sword's like messed the f up, and
Yep.
you're up in that sky garden, maybe restoring it. Maybe that's what's happening in that little scene there, or like maybe like healing it a little bit, and that's maybe we're excuse me, going into those dungeons to like get the things, and then you're going up into the sky world to actually repair it or something like that. Who knows? But it's very much looking forward to that game. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna do the Miyamoto quote so people can't come beat me in the streets. But
Be very angry about it. Yeah.
yeah. But I am looking forward to that, and I can wait just
Let
to
it cook.
I can just
In
wait,
the words of Michael P.
a couple
Huber.
months. They were definitely I was still even in like admittedly in that little bit of a mindset of like it could still get pushed to next year. It couldn't.
It was on my fantasy critic team, Mike. God damn it.
Rip.
I really believed it. I doubled
It was-
down.
you gotta-
I was like,
you-
this is it.
I get it. Sometimes you gotta dream.
Well, it just means hopefully God of War comes out this year, and then I don't have to listen to people bitch about it on the internet. I don't want to hear that argument.
Yeah, I know, right? The God or the Elden Ring versus Breath of the Wild arguments.
Yeah.
Like I'm with you on that. Of like I'm also okay from that meta narrative of people talking about video games on podcasts and not having to hear them talk about this open world aspect. Well, this is Elden.
The weapons break too quickly.
Yeah, the weapons to break quickly. You don't break an Elden Ring,
they broke the Master Sword. How
Elden
could
Ring wouldn't
they?
exist without the original Breath of the Wild. So it's Breath of the Wild 2, and then don't need any of that.
It's an endless circle.
My brain is already like melting and starting to like make up those joke conversations. Lord. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that at the end of the day. But I think there's tons of games like I was saying earlier. And I think a big next question for our next news item is where are we going to hear about those new video games? Because the thing they're usually announced at as of today is canceled. E3 2022. Live. They said there. I guess at some point they said there was in person, but that had to be a lot.
They didn't commit to anything.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if they like committed or not, but they basically just officially said like, yeah, it's canceled. It's not. There's not an E3 happening this year, but next year we're going to be back and bigger, and it's going to be 2023. It's going to be digital and in person. It's going to be huge, y'all. Please don't.
Please don't forget about us.
Don't bury us like how quickly E3 is just.
If you forget us, we lose all our power.
Yeah, fallen to the Jeff Keighley's of the world. But yeah, I'm just it is what it is with that whole thing. But I'm more concerned about and maybe this will probably be an ongoing thing as we get closer and closer. I'm sure. But since we first just heard about it today, I thought it was worth chatting about. Like, where do we think Nintendo is going to be in this now summer? Or I guess they'll probably still be in June. I feel like that's still just like such a normal time frame for that stuff. They'll still probably be around there, but
they'll think of a cute name, like a kitschy, fun name, like Nintendo's Summer Showcase or something like that, or Summer Jam Sesh or whatever.
They could just,
and
they could really just call it a direct. Like they still just called it here's another Nintendo Direct for June, and we're going to talk about a bunch of Nintendo games. And
they know that they bring the heat for E3 though, and they have for the last couple of years, especially they've really done some cool stuff at E3.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think they would like kind of annotate it as a special direct to kind of help it stand out from the crowd, and so they can go a little hog wild on it. At least I hope so. They could also just do a regular direct and have it be kind of just generally less exciting, but
and not to mention, like, again, I made the joke about it, but like Keighley has made his ground known. Like even in today, he's just like, we got the Summer Game Fest. We're having a big kickoff show and a bunch of other things that are like, they said not fully because they're probably still finding things, but they could just as easily be like Nintendo. I could see Nintendo just totally going for it because they've shown up with big stuff at other Keighley Game Award style events. So them just being like, hey, this is the Summer Game Fest Nintendo Direct or whatever. Like that could still just totally happen, and people will be like, okay, yeah, and they know what they mean, right? By it being,
we get it.
here's our big summer direct with a lot of big Nintendo
It's
news
June.
for the rest
It's
of the
time
year.
for video game news. Yeah,
exactly.
I wonder if this means PlayStation gets back into it. You know, they kind of sit with everybody in the Summer Games Fest because they just specifically hated E3. They were very vocal about that.
About ESA specifically, yeah.
Yeah,
it's possible.
I don't know. I feel like PlayStation has this kind of standoffish vibe at this point where they kind of want to do their own thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they've done enough of their like own little things around this summer kind of time frame now and those were like still viewed just as much as any E3, probably what they did at an E3, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like they could probably do their own thing just as much as like Nintendo. I feel like they could do. Who knows? Maybe they always are sort of out of the box when it comes to like the gaming norm, quote unquote. So like they could just be like, hey, it's July and here we are just doing a direct. That's their big direct for the year, and they just maybe they just don't do it during E3, but who knows? But yeah, it's
bummer.
It's a bummer.
I'm on the bummer team.
Yeah, I'm definitely conflicted about it because like I definitely definitely after actually watching E3 last year live and like wanting to like still be in that like E3's fun and it's fun to like have these cool like game announcements and see a bunch of people excited about games, seeing all the discussions around the games. Like, boy, that was just that was such a bummer to watch those streams directly from E3 because it felt like they're like all investor. There was like even then there was like people talking about crypto and weird other junk around that. Like, and I feel like it would have been even worse this year if they tried to do that again because it's only gotten more and more into like the gaming and tech world. So I'm kind of glad that's gone and we just can. The games can like Keighley can do his own thing and that'll be like fun, whatever. And then, Nintendo and the other big guys like PlayStation and Microsoft will figure it out. And
Xbox is going to do their Xbox showcase with Bethesda and stuff. Like they got plenty to show. PlayStation's got plenty to show. Nintendo's got plenty to show. Yeah. At the end of the day, if they all just do their own thing, it'll still be fine.
Yeah. Totally.
Lord knows. Hopefully, like Square Enix and Capcom are like, maybe we shouldn't do anything.
Yeah, maybe we should just or somehow latch on to one of these other ones and just have
like hang out with Keighley or something. Yeah,
hang out with Keighley, it all to Keighley, or just like put some of their games in one of the other showcases where it makes sense where those would go. Definitely gonna be curious, but yeah, we're this was
just gonna remind everyone June 2022, Alan Wake 2.
Alan Wake 2, we're seeing it.
We're going to hear about it. We might see some gameplay.
On Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, on Nintendo's Direct. God, could you imagine? Yeah. Now, I do want to, because we did skate over it, and this was some other less hopeful speculation that happened with the Breath of the Wild delay.
Sure.
Do you think that they might put out a new Switch between now and Breath of the Wild, or when Breath of the Wild 3 comes out?
They might. Will they put out something... will they put out a new Switch potentially? Will it be a Switch like the Switch people want, quote unquote? No, I don't think it'll be a Pro. Possible, yeah. I don't think it'll be a Pro or like a 4K Switch. I think if anything, it would be like a smaller Switch OLED. Like it'd be like here's a Switch Lite but with an OLED screen or something like that. Like I feel like
Switch Lite Plus or whatever.
I feel like at this point, like personally for me, I think we're not going to get like a Switch Pro or a 4K thing. I think we're just going to get whatever the Switch 2 is. And that'll just be, I honestly don't even see that happening next year. Like that's just where I personally my head is at. I think 2024 would be the earliest for me to see like a fully new Switch but it'll still be a Switch in a lot of capabilities, but it'll be like the thing like, people wanting, even including myself, of like, here's an upgraded Switch. It has like maybe a lot of technical advances, like maybe better battery life, better like screen resolutions, even on
new controllers, probably
new controllers, new like a new packaging to it, but it's still acts as a Switch, and you can play all your Switch games that you already own on it. And maybe here's like an updated version of our subscription services, because that's very much a thing as well that's worth talking about. as well here. But yeah, but before we get into that, yeah, I'll just end with yeah, I think if we see a new Switch anytime soon, it would be like 2024, like a new proper Switch, I should say, not like just a revision of like one that's kind of already as it is, where it's just like, hey, we might get like a Switch Pro Lite, where it's our Switch OLED Lite, I mean, and it's just like the same bottom as OLED as a Switch Lite, but it just has a nice OLED screen now.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I really don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
like at this point. I am just like prepared. Like if Nintendo announced it and it came out 3 months later, I would not be surprised. Like,
Sure, yeah,
like they have done it before. They will do it again. I'm
yeah,
sure in the future. So,
yeah,
but I'm not holding my breath. I'll say.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely kind of there with you. I'm just kind of waiting. I'm okay waiting and seeing on some of that as much as I would like to, because they're just gonna do their own thing and figure
Yep.
it out. And like the Switch is selling so freaking well already.
Never had a
Still,
price drop.
that like yeah, like they don't need to rush it, so they probably aren't gonna rush it. But yeah, the next news story I think is worth talking about. Um, although not directly Nintendo related, it can maybe hopefully I guess maybe get Nintendo more interested in bettering up their subscription service, because we have PlayStation finally came out. Was It's been rumored, I think, so basically like leaked. I feel like for like a month or so now, their subscription service that basically is like PlayStation Plus like 2.0, and they're basically like put a most basic way, they're taking PlayStation Plus and what is now known as PlayStation Now, which is like their streaming kind of Game Pass like equivalent, and combining those into higher subscription tiers for PlayStation Plus. So they're all just putting it into one package. So you have PlayStation Plus Essential, which is the base level tier, which is PlayStation Plus as it is now. And then you have these higher tiers, which are getting you into like the back catalog of PlayStation games. So the highest tier, which is either $18 a month or $120 a year, gets you access to a big library of PlayStation 4 and a very select few PlayStation 5 games. And then it also gets you PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1 games. So I will say, obviously, the multi-subscription tier is something Nintendo does have.
Yes.
But
Caveat: PS3 games are streaming only.
yes, PS3 games are streaming only. But I would say currently on Nintendo Switch Online, all of those games are streaming only as well.
Sure.
But I think it's a conflicting thing, right? Of like, I actually don't think the PlayStation Now upgrading deal is as bad as people are definitely like blowing it up to be. I definitely think there's people who are underwhelmed or disappointed in it, and I think that's definitely fair. I would say even I'm like still kind of just like, okay, but
Very whelmed.
very whelmed. Yes, is definitely the way to put it. But I think that's because we're comparing it to more like a Game Pass and not comparing it to Nintendo Switch Online, which Nintendo Switch Online is like, I would say, still below this. And granted, it's
the most
it's
underwhelming.
the most underwhelming. And like, granted, it is like the cheapest of the three, even with like the expansion pack. But like, man, like, I would pay Nintendo $120 a year if they even came close to like the library of games that we're gonna get, because they already said like a number with this PlayStation updated one, where like the middle tier
400 plus.
yeah, the middle tier gets you 400 plus games from PS4 and some PS5 games. The top tier adds like another 300 games from those PS3, PS2. So it's like 600, 700 games right there. So that's like, even if it's like, I don't expect every single one of those games to be hot bangers, or I probably also own some of that stuff already, but like just to have that level of games where you look at Nintendo Switch Online, I don't even know if it like, I think, but like, I don't even know if between the SNES, the NES, and the N64 games,
N64
they're even
and
at
Genesis, it'll probably hit 50.
Right. At Genesis, yeah, like they're probably not even over like 75, 50, 100 games on that, and it's just like, yeesh, like
Sure.
I don't even if they had like, even if Nintendo got up to like 150, 200 games, they're able to like be closer to that would be enough for me. And it's like, man, how could I don't understand? I still don't understand why they're so like bare minimum on their subscription services, or even just this service in general of providing their old classic games.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nintendo just doesn't quite get it yet, but they're like,
Yeah,
they're, as they always are, slowly crawling their way forward.
crawling their way forward for
It is
sure.
funny to think, like, the PlayStation approach is kind of a hybrid of Game Pass and Nintendo Switch Online.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to have the Plus Ultimate whatever version
Yeah,
to download those PS2 and PS1 games, but similar to the Switch, like, you download them, you're playing them there, you're emulating them. But also similar to that, you need the subscription to access that. It's not like Xbox where you can just buy a 360 game or an Xbox original game and just download it to your console by itself
and
or whatever that
just
cost is. Yeah, which I would honestly like if they're opening the gates with PlayStation. I think that's one of the things that frustrates me most. Just like, let me buy some PS2 and PS1 games a la carte and just play them on my console.
Yeah.
You're making more money that way, I'm sure. So it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem like it should be as big a deal. And then similarly, it makes me think, like, go back to Nintendo and be like, I'm gonna just let me buy A Link to the Past and Super Metroid and not, so I don't have to subscribe to this and just download them because I know I could.
Just download them and have them on your thing. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those, nobody needs me to tell them that we are in the part of capitalism where they think subscription plans are the way to go.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's,
So everybody's doing it, and it's not surprising. Like when Nintendo caved and made you have to get Nintendo Switch Online to play multiplayer, and it was like, yeah, I mean, of course, because there's just money that they could be making that they're not making.
yeah. Exactly. And as they get more and more into that, and yeah, and I think the big thing is like I'm very curious more of how like Sony's, like the Sony upgrade plan is going to go, just because like I think a big thing that would make Nintendo change a lot is how Japan would react to it, right? Like,
Yeah.
like I think it's definitely a big thing in the like in US markets, the subscription stuff, but like I don't know, I honestly don't know, like knowledge wise, like where that stuff is in Japan. Like I don't know if Japan has like is like big on like even just like not just game subscriptions, but like Netflix or like Hulu or whatever other streaming services are in those territories. So I'd be curious to like how much that stuff is there, because I feel like that's the thing that I think would push the needle more than just like a bunch of like dumb American game tweeters being like, ugh, they're making me get Super Mario World again for the fourth time. What the F, Nintendo? Like, it's,
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be the thing that really makes them go like, okay, yeah, the Japanese market cares about this a lot more now, and like we need to get with the times.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think like Sony potentially like getting into that mold or getting into those tier subscriptions and offering those classic games puts them in that position where I think like that might have a lot more eyes in those Japanese markets than like an Xbox Game Pass would. I would assume, just because it's always been kind of the natural thing, right? Of like, whereas Xbox still, I don't know how much that like they've been slowly, but I don't think it's for sure like have like a market over there really still. Where like I think Sony and Nintendo still own so much of that. It's like maybe them dabbling more into subscription services will be the thing that pushes that more and more. But still wait and see. I think like you said, Nintendo just has so much. I think they have a lot of catching up to do in those regards still. And like I don't know if they care enough to do it yet. I guess we'll just have to keep seeing what they do here as the year goes on, and they slowly add more to this expansion pack and try and make it a meaningful thing.
Yeah, I'm curious. That's a good point of like how this impacts Japan. I feel like Switch is very popular there, so
Yeah.
they don't they don't have to. Probably they're probably fine. Like we're having this conversation, but Nintendo might just not care.
Yeah.
But I think they will, because people are already upset because they announced the new SNES games coming for March today.
Earthworm Jim 2.
It's like Earthworm Jim 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Japan gets like Harvest Moon, and it's like, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to us?
Yeah.
People would play that. Like, and it's just one of those things where they're trying, but it's like a very difficult to calculate how hard they're trying.
Yeah. Or like their gauge of interest in different markets are compared.
Yeah.
Their kind of core market. Yeah. Definitely curious to see. And again, I think it'll just come back to like we probably won't get a lot of big updates on what they're thinking of doing with that service probably until that June summer big direct, if any at all. Where maybe some other, maybe Splatoon 3 or some other online focused game, they like package more stuff in that with that expansion.
I think so.
Pack.
I think that's gonna keep happening for sure.
Yeah, like Splatoon or like
Splatoon, Bayonetta, maybe
other DLC for these other games. Whatever they're gonna do, maybe they'll do a bigger infusion of other classic games, or maybe
here's a risky bet.
Game Boy games in there or something.
I'll make a risky bet. Okay. They put one of the Zelda games in there for free. Or one of those HD remasters, either Twilight Princess or Wind Waker. Throw it in there for free because you buy the other one.
Yeah,
but if you have the subscription,
that'd be interesting because like they did that one time with like Bayonetta, right? There's like a digital like order.
Yeah, if you bought Bayonetta 2 on Switch, you get the first one for free.
For free, yeah. I wonder if maybe they would do that. Like you can get Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. You can basically like if you're on the subscription service, the Nintendo Switch Online, you can buy one and get the other one free, or just get one of them for free. And
they're like playing with this idea that like the PlayStation Plus style free games, they're like teasing it almost.
Yeah, they're almost there.
Yeah, I think that could be a good first step for them.
Yeah, I definitely think there is like, I think they're in that difficult spot that like Sony is, where like their first party games sell so freaking well still that like they don't need to do what Xbox does and put them on some kind of service day one, right?
Yes, I think it's like because Jim Ryan had that quote. I think it is Nintendo's wrong to say that it would hurt their brands to put to put them on there. But I think I do understand why they wouldn't.
Yes.
I just the reasoning is not that it would hurt the games. It is that they know that they will sell well, and you should just say that.
Yeah,
like it's fine.
Like, we know these games are of a quality that people will buy them for $70 or $60.
And yes, the Virtuous Cycle.
The Virtuous Cycle.
The Mortal Shell DLC.
Shigeru Miyamoto's Virtuous Cycle.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 4 Virtuous Cycle.
I really hope that gets more play in video games.
Please.
Sure.
I will be saying it a lot for sure.
Yeah. But I'm definitely curious of where we'll see Nintendo Switch Online go. But speaking of things going, Dragalia Lost, Nintendo's mobile game, one of Nintendo's mobile games, is going to be shutting down later in the summer. Basically, or I think actually no. Here, sorry. Let me pull up the article I have here just to make sure I got everything right. This article I have is from Kotaku from Brian Ashcraft, which is Nintendo mobile game Dragalia Lost is shutting down. Here's an official statement. The Dragalia Lost main campaign is scheduled to reach its conclusion in July of 2022 with part 2 of chapter 26. That's a lot of chapters. The final and climactic addition to its long-running story. After the main campaign is concluded, service for the game itself will come to close at a later date. Okay, so basically the story campaign.
They're giving you a heads up.
Is ending in July, and then the game will close down some point after that.
Like Final Fantasy 14, get on now.
Yeah,
except it's not. Game's not shutting down. I mean, you brought this up because to talk about where's Nintendo at with mobile.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was my larger question. Was ultimately like I have played Dragalia Lost, but I probably have not played that game in like a year plus. I don't think
you're not into chapter 26 part 2 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not bating breath looking for chapter 26 part 2.
How's gonna end?
How's it gonna end? How are they gonna Dragalia Lost the Dragalia? I don't know.
How are they gonna find it?
How are they gonna find it? Yeah, I'm not. So I played with it a little bit. It's one of those things where like it felt, even when I played it for the first time, it felt very standard, like gotcha mobile game style. Excuse me, video game of, you get these cool looking little characters, and they, from the gotcha system, and they're ranked 4-star, 5-star, or whatever, and then they'll then they'll just do these like little mobile paths, and you get swords, and you feed swords to other swords to power them up, or you get dragons, and then the characters turn into dragons, and your dragons have different rarities and all that kind of,
Then you lose them.
Very standard like mobile game like stuff.
Sure.
But as far as considering it's been going, I think it's one of the longer running Nintendo mobile games. I will like, to its credit at least. Considering like I think the only other ones that are currently going right now are
Mario Kart Tour.
Mario Kart Tour. Sure. I think there's the Fire Emblem game. I think is still going.
Fire Emblem Heroes. Yeah, that sounds
Heroes. Right. And wasn't there? I don't know if I guess it has to be someone.
Dr. Mario World, but I think that shut down.
Dr. Mario World has shut down. I know that for a fact.
Okay,
but there's
Animal Crossing Pocket Camp.
I think that's still going. And then there's a Pinkman one. Did you completely forget about the Pinkman?
Yes, Pikmin game? Stop or Go or whatever. Not Go. That was the S one.
It's supposed to be like a Pokemon Go thing, but I don't see that lasting much longer either. And I just
Super Mario Run.
Super Mario Run, the game you had to actually buy on a phone and not free to play. Quite an interesting road for Nintendo mobile games. And I think just seeing the Dragalia loss, which I feel like was one of the ones that was definitely at least like a little bit more popular. Like I don't remember exactly. I guess I'll look up the date of like when it released.
2019 sounds right.
Something like that. It was September of 2018. So it went for 4 or 5 years. So like that's definitely better than a lot of these other Nintendo mobile titles. And I would not say I'm enough of an aficionado to know like other non-Nintendo mobile games, like how long those like last in perpetuity necessarily. So, but that still seems like a pretty good run, all things considered.
I think like Mario Kart, like clearly there are those games that make a lot of sense that they kind of waited to do. Like Pokemon Go was a big hit, but they were only kind of tertiarily involved with that. Super Mario Run was them like being like, no, we're gonna make real games, and then they were like, all right, I guess not. We're gonna make Fire Emblem Heroes. I thought a lot of people really responded well to Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. I think that was like a good holdover till New Horizons came out.
New Horizons came out.
I know Mario Kart, Dr. Mario World was bad and unsuccessful.
And that one went pretty quickly.
Pikmin Bloom, that's what it's called.
Pikmin Bloom. Okay.
But Mario Kart Tour definitely, like, I know it's not the best Mario Kart by any means, but that was like where the money was. And Fire Emblem Heroes was where the money was. And
same for that too. Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit more about Mario Kart Tour and the games I'm playing, because I've actually played that thanks to the Mario Kart DLC and wanting to get into this weird Mario Kart hole that I found myself in when that stuff was announced. But I played that, and that's pretty standard mobile game stuff too. But it's just like in that same vein, like with this DLC, they're bringing tour tracks into Mario Kart 8. So I wonder if this is also a way for them to be like, hey, Mario Kart Tour isn't going to last forever, or neither are mobile games. Maybe they're starting to kind of slow down on some of these offerings on mobile, and maybe looking to put more time into the Switch, because that's the thing that's selling for them, and games are doing insanely well. Maybe they can take some of these development teams and put them on other things. But yeah, it's that's just where my head is at with Nintendo mobile games. I just don't know.
Yeah, they just had that big, DNA partnership when this all started, and it seemed like it was going to be like a big pillar for them. But now, and obviously at the time we're all like, we'll see how it goes, and here we are after having seen how it went, and it's like, they did try it. They gave it a genuine shot. I think money. They had some. They had some cool ideas in there. I think Animal Crossing was cool. Obviously, a lot of people like Fire Emblem Heroes, even though I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. But I think it is just that thing where it's just like it's fine. they were fine, but nothing like crazy stand out.
What I said before we started recording, they've just now, like that partnership started in 2017, or 2016, I think. Mm-hmm. So that was before the Switch had come out. And now they just own the mobile console market.
Yeah.
And that the Switch is just the gift that lets them kind of also have a home console by happenstance and
By
compete.
happenstance, yeah.
So
And
they have their market, you know.
yeah, and it's a weird thing to say, but I've honestly even still seen this on Switch already. Of like I've seen people, not to a great effect, port mobile games onto Switch and like have like mobile games on Switch. If I don't know if there's some way they could port Dragalia Lost onto Switch
You probably could
and
if they
like
wanted to.
and just like maybe like and not be it may be like carry not like necessarily like the full on mobile game aspects of it, of just being like, here's this complete package and we don't want to just have it disappear forever. So let's just, throw this 26 chapter story thing or whatever on Switch.
Yeah.
Maybe there are people out there who are clearly playing it because it lasted a number of years, so maybe they can have that there as an experience. But I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if I see them bringing Dragalia Lost as even like a non-mobile game like RPG Dragalia Lost 2 onto Switch or something. I don't know if that would
I see
happen.
I see it's more likely that they would make it a sequel and have it just be kind of like
Right.
a Bravely Second type deal where it's like just kind of its own game, but now on Switch.
But now it's like a Switch game in that world. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do anything like that, or if again they're bringing a lot of Mario Kart Tour tracks are coming into even with this first DLC are coming into the Switch Mario Kart 8, and it seems like we'll get into more of that when I get into Mario Kart 8 talk for games. But I mean, actually, really, I think that's pretty much all there is on the tour on the Nintendo mobile front.
Yes, rest in peace, Nintendo Mobile.
Yeah, I think they've just.
The obvious thing was like just to put classic games out on mobile. They could have sold them out a la carte and made a goddamn bankroll, but they just didn't want to. So
yeah, pretty much. But that's going to do it for that. For the news, more or less, it's everything we've had there. Speaking of games, we're going to get into our game. We're going to get into games talk. We both played Kirby. But before we get to Kirby, I want to shout out a travesty of a game. Here, that is Chocobo GP. Speaking of games that probably should have been a mobile game, but are just now a bad Switch game, Chocobo GP. Boy,
sounds like they nailed it.
they nailed trying to mask a really skeezy mobile game, trying to get every cent out of you as like a full $50 Switch video game. If that's what you want to see, we have here on if you're watching this on YouTube, there's also a viewpoints that me and Quentin Hoffman did, checking out the free version of Chocobo GP and seeing what's available there. And then I did go spend $50 on the full version of Chocobo GP because that is a thing that this game has. And that's definitely $50 I regret spending. Chocobo GP, I guess to bring it back, is like it's a kart racing game with Final Fantasy characters. It's clearly like a kind of a spiritual. I don't think it's like a direct sequel, but there was a Chocobo racing game on like PlayStation 1. I think I might have only been in Japan or something, but it's like
sounds right. Yeah,
but it has like the same style of like the main little mascot character is like a little chibi chocobo, and he has roller skates that he skates around on. And this is kind of them taking that kart racing idea and putting it on Switch. It is Switch exclusive as far as I'm aware right now. And yes, it is. There's a free to play version of it, which you can only do. So in the free to play version, you can do one tutorial race that is part of the story. It's a single race. You can participate in the online. There's the actual Chocobo GP online, which is actually like an okay setup where it's like 8 groups or groups of 8 that start out. It's 64 total players, and they each start in groups of 8. Then you're put into a race, and if you get into like the first 4, you're like moved up to like a tier of like 32, and then it goes up until you're to your final 8, and you can kind of try and stay in it as long as you can. to try and get that. And the more and more you get into it, you get higher into it. You're getting points that go into a battle pass. Yes, there's a battle pass in Chocobo GP. And there's also like a whole bunch of other currencies. You get gil, you get like these weird tickets, and then there's like a mithril gems that are like the actual currency you can buy. There's just straight up currency you can buy like in a mobile game, just here. So that's all there. Here's the best kicker though. To buy any of that stuff, to buy the currency that you can buy for gems, to buy the battle pass, which by the way, on the battle pass, if you get higher tiers in the battle pass, you can unlock Cloud Strife. Cloud Strife is a racer.
That's how they get you.
To even be able to purchase any of this stuff, you have to buy the $50 version of this game.
Oh wow!
You can't even do any of this in the free to play version of the game. It's straight up. You can again go see in that viewpoints if you want. You go into those menus, everything is grayed out, and if you try and select something, it says you need the full version of this game in order to purchase these things. It straight up has that line right there in the thing. You're just like, good lord, wow!
$50 to buy more things, please.
$50 to then go buy like essentially currency to like unlock things faster. Or to like get like higher tiers, like there's like a standard battle pass and like a super premium battle pass, and they're like separate things that like, and like getting the higher one unlocks things even faster. Whoa! And it's like you can get Cloud faster or like get Cloud instantly or something like that with that. It's like the skeeziest stuff you can imagine in a literal kart racing game. It's about like a chocobo racing around some Final Fantasy maps, you know what I mean? Like it's just like,
yeah,
man, it was such a bummer to see because really like the game itself like is not like actively bad. I would say it's pretty okay. Like it's by no means, it's no Mario Kart 8. And it's not like even like I like that Crash Team Racing, like they made like a remake of that like I think a year or two ago, and that game was actually pretty good, even though that also had some weird microtransaction junk going on in it, like in terms of like playing it and it feeling good and like good online play. Like that game was actually pretty fun. This game I would say is probably like under those even, and also on top of like a lot of the tracks they're like variants of tracks. So you have like Sid's Raceway, and it's like here's like, you know, if it's like a you know a little, it's like a stand, it looks like almost like a standard go-kart track, but it's like, you know, there's like you know a little workshop, and you know Sid's in the game. It's like their own version of Sid, and there's basically like the normal version of that, and then there's like a what is it? What do they put it as? Like a technical version of that, and where slightly changes the turns you're taking. So it's basically like the same kind of like outlay, like in visual look to it, or palette, you could say, but it's just like a slightly different version of that. And a couple of the maps have that. So like a lot of the offering, just like it feels, the offerings feel half baked, and then they put all of kinds of horrible free to play microtransaction stuff to like the point where like literally within 24 hours for this game came out. I don't know if you ever saw it, but like the official Square Enix like Twitter account were like, we are sorry about the state of Chocobo GP, and we will work to it. Yes, they put out like an official Square Enix official Twitter, like put out a tweet like a straight up like cyberpunk style, like here's a little graphic and we're sorry this game is in this state kind of tweet. And then, you know, I think since then they've even like, I think the director of the game has like made statements about like they want to improve the quality of this game. But man, that was definitely disappointing after seeing it. Like I remember seeing it like in a direct and being like, oh cool, like it's cool they're trying this. And then you play it and you're just like, man, this is very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's like a kart racer too. It just feels predatory in nature.
It feels predatory because it's definitely for young kids. And on top of like, you know, this at the same exact time, we have new Mario Kart DLC that just got announced, and it's 48 tracks for $25. There's not even that many tracks, like not even
or
half.
free if you have the Nintendo Switch
if
Online
you're already
expansion pack.
if you're already paying for that expansion pack, you just get these tracks.
It's a nice little treat for me, you know?
Yeah, totally. And it's like this game doesn't even have half of the tracks that you would get via this DLC, and and on top of all those tracks that are in Chocobo GP, they're just like sort of slightly palette swapped versions of tracks that are already in there. I will say, like, hey, there's a golden saucer track in there, and that looks, and it's kind of the Rainbow Road, and that's kind of it looks cool visually at least,
That's
but
cool.
it's like I'll give them a shout out for putting Vivi as a character you can unlock. There is full on unlockable characters, but like they clearly put like Cloud and also Leon, our Squall, is also a character you can get, but they are the characters you would have to buy the battle pass or like spend
and level up the battle pass.
level up the battle pass and like or basically spend money to get currencies to unlock them, more or less. But yeah, it's just it felt like it just felt so unnecessary once I saw all of this free to play stuff that's not even free to play because you have to spend $50 to freaking even get any of this stuff. It was just such a bummer to see the game in that state, which otherwise could have just been like a fun, whatever. Like it's not Mario Kart, but it's a fun little kart racer you can just mess around in, whatever. But anyways, that's Chocobo GP. You can go see the viewpoints we did, as I said, me and Gwen, and you can see it all in its miserable glory of pay to win microtransaction stuff. Anyway, on to better kart racing talk. We both played Mario Kart 8 DLC.
Our talk with Mike and Alex.
The kart racing talk was here.
Finally, you've been waiting for it.
Yes, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's got its first 8 tracks to DLC.
We did a stream for it.
We did a stream that is also archived on our YouTube channel, so you can go watch us play through those. Yeah, those tracks are a lot of fun. It's nice to just be back in Mario Kart 8 because that's a good feeling video game, and it's just a fun video game to play. And
yeah, it was cool to like. I looked up some of the like what they actually looked like beforehand.
Yeah, and seeing the kind of
Choco Mountain looks very different.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more going on in that.
A lot more going on, and it's like there's a whole cave system in the track now, and you have like a whole gliding section after the cave that was like never there in that original one. Just super cool.
It just looks great. Like everything looks great. Everything sounds great. Yeah. Ninja Hideaway, very good stage.
Yeah, that definitely seems like the consensus is everyone's kind of fan favorite from that first pack is Ninja Hideaway. Yeah, and I like it too. It's really good. They remixed all of the music, and it's all in Mario Kart 8. It's like big band style. Very good.
My suspicion is that they just wanted to get the band back together, and so they're like, "Well, we got to make DLC to go with it, I guess."
Let's make 48 tracks, and let's just get to it.
I don't know if you remember seeing those like developer diary videos of the band playing the Mario Kart 8 music, but they just look like they were having the best time of their lives.
Having a good time because they're just playing some good music,
playing some jazz music, hanging out.
Yeah, just jazzing out. Yeah, I would love to have been in those recording sessions. Just to fly the wall and just being like, look, this is
groovy as hell. This man knows how to play the saxophone.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's very good. I appreciate all the handheld, updos on them. And we were talking about it during that stream, but I had never played the Wii Mario Kart. There's a stage from there too that's really fun. Coconut Mall. Yeah, Coconut Mall is a pretty big fan favorite from the Wii version, and that one's super fun. Other people were like making a big deal out of the cars at the end because in the original Coconut Mall, when you're coming around to like start a new lap, there's 2 cars, and in the original ones they used to go back and forth. In the Wii version, and in the Wii version, since it was on the Wii, you could see Mii's in like the backgrounds and the foregrounds instead of like little Mario characters. So you could have like Mii's in the 2 cars like going back and forth. So it just made like silly meme things of like, haha, I had a Shaquille O'Neal meal and he's in the car and he's running me over. I thought like a lot of it's people like reminiscing about those days from the Wii version being bummed that isn't there, but overall it's I don't think it's not the end of the world. I'm just happy to have new tracks to play in Mario Kart 8, and it led me down this weird hole of
downloading Mario Kart Tour.
Yeah.
Because basically a bunch of tracks that were added into this in this DLC were Mario Kart Tour tracks, and even some of the updated classic tracks were first kind of updated in Tour, and then they kind of updated them again for 8. So like that Choco Mountain, like you were talking about before, the version that's in this DLC was first updated in Tour, like with the whole new cave and the gliding section. That was in Tour, and then they took that version and put it in here. And then, of course, there's the original Tour tracks, which 2 of them are like based off of real world cities, which is like silly to think about in a Mario Kart world where you're racing around, like you're racing past like iconic destinations in Tokyo, but then there's also like thwomps on the streets, like smashing around, and it's just like a silly, fun kind of thing. And I just like actually really liked how they incorporated them of like having these tracks that are they change basically every lap. And the reason they do that, because in Mario Kart Tour, after playing it, a lot of the original tracks that were in there, so the Tokyo track or the Paris track, they do kind of the thing like the classic SNES Mario Kart does, where it's like, here's Tokyo Blur 1, and it's this layout for 2 laps. Here's Tokyo Blur 2, and this is the one where you go under the little red kind of lantern shrine, and it's only in that version. And then Tokyo Blur 3 has you go up over this bridge, and they just incorporated all of those into a single track, and made it like one big track that's changing each lap in 8. So I think it's really cool how they did that, and that was kind of my thing of seeing as like this game is, or this DLC at least seems like it's going to be largely kind of pulling from stuff from Tour. Which I think is like a fine thing at the end of the day, because Tour has had so much stuff in it. I kind of just wanted to go look at like, all right, here's kind of what to expect from like more DLC tracks coming in the future, because I am looking forward to these. And the thing I didn't realize is like, I guess this was my naivete thinking a mobile game would work in a way a full console game does, is Tour basically like goes like has like seasons, or they should just call them tours. So like as of, I think if this is recording, it was like a samurai tour, I think is what they call it. So like you could race. So like Ninja Hideaway is in Tour right now. You can go play it. And there's a bunch of other tracks, but it's not just every track is kind of just available at any time. So like right now, like Tokyo Blur, which is originally made for Mario Kart Tour, and even Paris Promenade, if you boot up Tour right now on your mobile phone, you can't even just go play those tracks. It's like they're just not even directly in there, because they have to, because each tour, which is like I think like either like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, has a set amount of tracks, and only those tracks are available during that time. And then a new tour starts, which adds like a bunch of mobile game stuff where it's like, hey, you get here's a golden Yoshi, you want to get this gold Yoshi, or here's Mario and some samurai.
Gotta play 300 tracks while in the season or whatever.
Here's Mario and some samurai armor. He looks cool, right? Get him to drive around in Mario Kart Tour. So that's kind of the thing of like that was like another aspect I think over by the end of, as we get deeper into this DLC, is like this is a way for them to kind of sort of preserve these tracks and make them playable kind of at any time, right? Of like, oh yeah, because there's actually like a ton of tracks, because I ended up when I realized that fact, I ended up going up on YouTube and just looking up what a bunch of tracks existed. So there's like there's like a New York track, there's a London track, there's a Los Angeles track, there's like a Sydney and like a Sydney, Australia track, and there's like a whole bunch of there's like a Christmas like theme track where you're like drive up this big mountain, and there's like big Christmas presents, and these different like rails you can go on and stuff. That actually looks really cool. And I would assume these tracks are probably going to come to this, because we got a lot in this first set of 8 tracks, and since we have literally 40 more tracks to go, I feel like I can't like probably.
I think they'll probably prioritize the classic tracks, but I feel like everything's just going to be in this game by the time this is over.
Because I think they can kind of, with 40 tracks, I think they can hit a lot of fan favorites, while also like kind of bringing some of these tour tracks also back and updating them. Because I think I did see that there was some data mining of some stuff, but it's not fully confirmed, because I think I remember when I saw it was on Twitter. And somebody basically pulled an image that is like the updated like that, like, you know, when they first revealed the booster course pass, and there's like the little graphic of Mario driving over a track with images of the DLC tracks. It's an updated version of that image with new images that are like across the track of courses that are like not currently in the game yet. So people already saw a lot of stuff like that of like, hey, there's going to be some more tour tracks. There's going to be some more, you know, there's some fan favorite ones. Like I think I saw Waluigi Pinballs in there, so I was very excited to see that that's getting in for sure. And I think I saw like some other tracks like the Maple Tree Way, which is a good track from Wii. You know, there's even some like older SNES tracks and other stuff like that. So, you know, I'm just excited for more Mario Kart at the end of the day. And this even though like this first, the one thing I would say I was like it was a bummer was like at least 8 tracks. There's no like anti-grav stuff, which was big in Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. Yeah,
and like
I think they could up the ante and start adding that as things go on. Like,
yeah,
as people have bought this, like they probably had this first wave locked and loaded, ready to go. So they might like throw in some new tracks or do a little bit more updating to add anti-grav into some of the old tracks going forward. And I don't think it's off the table. It might not be a priority, but I think by the end of it, there might be like a couple brand new tracks in there. I think that would make sense.
Yeah. And that definitely, that I think there's definitely a possibility that there's like some new tracks aren't necessarily like tracks that will be either brand new to Mario Kart Tour that comes within this, like, you know, because the DLC is coming from now until the end of next year, 2023. So I could see a thing where like, hey, there's like a new track that gets put into Mario Kart Tour here, and then it comes to Mario Kart 8 like next year or something like that. Like there's still totally a possibility of like those kind of things happening. Or vice versa, where like, you know, because like for some reason they list the Ninja Hideaway track as not a Tour track, even though it is from Tour originally. Like that's track was made for Tour. So I don't know if there's some weird other thing where maybe that track came from some mystery Mario Kart or something that we never knew about. I have no idea.
Yeah. Or like maybe it's just substantially different. I don't know how different it is from the Tour one.
Yeah. It is definitely different from Tour tracks because there isn't like a lot of the base city tracks again have that like Tokyo Blur 1, 2, where Ninja Hideaway didn't have like Ninja Hideaway 2 or 3. The other weird thing Tour does, which I don't think they're gonna bring over to these any of these DLC tracks per se, is they do more variants on top of that, because that's again how they fill out kind of these like couple week tours or whatever. Is they do they call them like trick, so it'll say like Waluigi Pinball T or Waluigi Pinball R. So like,
I believe you mean technical.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's literally like they're just like their trick versions are reverse versions. So like the trick versions basically add in like a whole bunch of like ramps and like jumps and things on top of the track. So you'll have like sections where there's like, hey, this section has like a bunch of ramps you can hit and do a bunch of tricks, because the whole thing with Tour is like, as you're doing, it's not necessarily about like, you know, coming in first or second or whatever. It's more about like doing tricks, doing drifts, using items, and you're accruing like points and like the score. It's like a score tally more than it is like a full on race per se. At least to like unlock a bunch of stuff, like to get the different currencies, to like pull the gacha thing. So there's a lot of stuff in that. And then there's the reverse ones, which are full on like you go through the courses entirely backwards, and they will add like glider sections like in reverse where those sections apply, or and vice versa. So I don't think they'll pull those from Tour. I don't think they'll be like, here's Waluigi Pinball, but it's completely reversed from Mario Kart Tour. Whoa. Like I don't think they're gonna do anything weird.
I mean, they've already got a mirror mode and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know, you don't necessarily need that.
You don't need a mirror mode, and I think I don't think they'll end up doing that. There's one more thing they do, which I actually do like, because they do it mostly for like the SNES and SNES tracks, which are obviously like, they're not, I don't think they're like actively bad tracks, but they're pretty plain compared to like a lot of current Mario Kart tracks you'd see in the modern games. And what they do is they call them RMX tracks, and they basically take sections of the tracks and pull like the more modern stuff that Mario Kart does, where it's like, hey, there's a gliding or like underwater section, or there's like a bunch of ramps or things like that. Like there was one I did where it was an RMX like Rainbow Road like 2 or 3 from the SNES, and they had this whole section. And basically, like in the base one, it would just been like a normal straightaway. You just kind of go down. Where in this one, they cut out all the road and make a glider section, and then you're like weaving between like these like kind of floating asteroids and like little like floating like star like boosts you can go through. So like that was actually a pretty cool way to just be like, okay, it's at least something compared to like, all right, I'm just going straight down this road. Now it's like adding in like kind of a little gliding section. So like something like that I would probably be fine with, but like I don't think they're gonna do the other trick reverse stuff. But regardless, I'm looking forward to. I'm just excited.
They did kind of do that with the Paris track, because the third lap you do it backwards.
It goes reverse on you on that.
So they might just do it like that.
It's possible. And I will say, like, as like those tracks definitely, I would say like the Paris one in particular is relatively simple, even by like a lot of tracks standards. And I will say like some of the other city themed tracks definitely get a little bit more elaborate. Like the LA track in particular, I think is actually really neat and has really good music actually, even in tour. So that'd be really actually kind of cool. I'd be kind of down to see that track come over. And it's much differently laid out, so I don't think it would be a thing like they do where this one where it's like a lap and then you shift, because like literally at least from what I've seen from the LA track, like each starting point is like a completely different area. So it might have to be a thing where they do like a Mount Wario situation and they like have it be like a multi-section where lap 1 is like you're on this like beach part, and then part 2 you're like going through the city streets, and there's other stuff in there as well. There's like a Vancouver track, which is also very, very different. And it's really weird because there's one sequence where you like literally drive into an ice rink and get like shot out of a cannon.
Nice.
It just looks really silly. So there's tons of stuff they can do with that. And I'm excited to be like looking forward to Mario Kart stuff, because I feel like it would have been, I personally felt like for a while it was just going to be something that was much farther off. And even though it's going to be stuff that we're kind of already familiar with from other previous games, like
it's in the best Mario Kart game.
It's in the best Mario Kart game. It's going to have completely new music. There's still very much likely a chance we'll see some newer tracks.
Yeah,
be it either like tour.
It'll feel new to a lot of people, myself included.
It'll feel new because I've not still played a lot of those tour tracks. You can't even really go play those tour tracks easily, like I said earlier. So it'll be nice to like just be able to have this big package of Mario Kart that's going to be regularly updated. And then, not too soon after that, we'll probably still get a new freaking Mario Kart. Like, not too soon after that, so...
We could get the Mario Kart Ultimate that we've wanted,
Yeah.
Or the crossover Mario Kart, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah. So that's been a lot of fun. But let's get to the big game that's coming out. That we kind of held this... Again, we held this episode back a little later in March. Kirby and the Forgotten Land... I've played a bunch. You played a bunch.
Kirby's back, baby.
Kirby's back, baby. I'm gonna let you start because I've been talking a lot. So,
I'm in World 3, the amusement park land.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what world are you in?
I'm deeper in. I think I'm World like 6.
The ice area is the next one. So
yeah,
that's
so I've done ice, and then I did ice, and then I did an area after that, and then I just got into that. I beat the boss for that area, and now I've entered the area, but I've not gone into any levels in it yet.
Got it. Yeah. So I've been mostly taking my time of like, I'm gonna make sure I get all the Waddle Dees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the point now that I've hit World 3 where I'm like, all right, I want to see the levels, and then I'll go back through them. And then sometimes you'll get like an upgrade that will be like, all right, well, this is gonna make this way easier.
Yes.
Like the hammer I upgraded recently in the sword, so it's like, all right, now I'm cooking. I like it a lot. This is definitely the most fun I've had with a Kirby game in a while. I've like the last one I played. Oh man, I'm not good at playing Kirby games. I'll say, like, I think I might have played for a little bit one of the Wii ones, or one of the. I didn't play Epic Yarn, so it must have been like either a Wii one or one of like the 7 ones they've already put out on Switch. I might have just played a demo too, so it's been a while. But I'm like not huge on Kirby, but I always like I give them space between, and this one seems like a fresh enough take, and I think it is. I think they capture a lot of what I like about Super Mario 3D World, it is not as intense as that. Also,
Yeah.
that game gets pretty like gripping the controller, especially if a trapeze comes into frame. Then I know that you, me, and Quinn are going to be sweating for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Swinging on a goddamn bar, trying not to die. And I like so far it's not that, but it is like getting to the point where like it's getting better at hiding the secrets, which is exciting. I like that. I like that you get to. It doesn't like hide the hints from you of to what the hidden waddle dees are and the collectibles throughout each level. You know, you beat a level, you get as many as you can get, and then it'll tell you like, oh, that's what I have to do. I have to go like eat 4 popcorn or donuts or whatever, or I have to navigate them all without getting lost, and still get lost a bunch. The thing I don't like are the challenges, only because I don't like the time trial bit. I don't know why I need to do it in that time. You don't get anything
you
for
don't.
it.
I was about to say you can completely ignore
like,
that.
it bothers me that it's there,
Right?
and like because they seem like skewed like noticeably more difficult than like anything else in the game. Even like I found the like each boss, basically one of the hidden modalities is always beat it without taking damage. And there's always like a real cheesy thing you can do. Like the gorilla, I just did the gun upgrade, the ranger, and just shot him.
It's just
It was over.
bunch, yeah.
Which is nice, and I like that. You know, you can always go back to Waddle Dee Town and get any of the upgrades you've unlocked. And obviously the whole upgrade system where you make them into like tier 2. It's funny, like the only other upgrade gimmick I remember is from the N64 one, where if you like inhale 2 different enemies, you can combine them into like a super ability.
It's super
but it feels like there are less abilities in this than many Kirby games before. I don't know if there's like a whole other room of abilities that unlocks.
I was gonna say I don't want to necessarily spoil anything too much for you, but I will say at least I don't know if it's every single ability, but there is a tier 3.
Oh, okay, so cool. I was wondering that
there's a tier tier 2 you get, and then I've at the point where I'm at in the game, I've started unlocking like kind of tier 3s of a lot of the abilities.
Excellent.
So a lot of them
exciting.
Evolve even more. But I will say yes, like in terms of like, you know, they were like, I feel like it was a good and bad thing about the and I think that comes a lot from their translation into doing this more 3D, not fully open environments, but these like more 3D platforming levels is like there are less abilities than previous Kirby games, where like some Kirby games had like a whip ability and like a ninja.
I missed
and like
the punching
and like a spider, yeah,
the
like
fighter one.
The fighter one, yeah, and like this has like definitely a little bit more basic, set of abilities, but you do evolve them like you're saying, like as you find blueprints in the levels.
Yeah.
And I am now at my point. Yes, I have some tier 3s. I won't spoil too many of them. I won't spoil too many of them, but there are some really cool ones. Like I like the third version of the bomb ability gives you tracking bombs. So you
excellent.
You drop them and then they get little wheels on them and they just drive around. And you can just and that's the thing. Like you can do it when you're nearby an enemy, or you can just do it at any time, and the bomb will just like drive around for a while following you, and you can just kind of run with a posse of bombs. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
And they do. I don't know if you've gotten the second bomb where they like chain together.
The chain bombs.
It does the chain thing on top of that, so you can have like 2 little homing bombs chained together and do a bigger explosion. So
that is cool.
So they do evolve the core set of abilities even more in cool ways, I will say. But I won't spoil too many more of them.
I definitely feel that like I just am not as into 3D platformers as I used to be playing this game, but there is just enough going on that I'm really digging it, and it feels like really fresh, like for Kirby especially. And I love all the copy abilities and stuff. The mouthful mode obviously is, I think, the star of the show here.
Absolutely.
And it is great because, you know, they're essentially just like other Kirby abilities, but they have you interact with the world in different ways.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Yeah. Those are definitely more centered around like, I think my favorite thing about this is how well, you know, Kirby games have always been very simple games. But they've had like some fun little puzzle bits here and there, but there was never really I felt like some of those games never enough of them to make the games like worth that interesting. Where I feel like this game
leans into that
a little bit more. With the help of mouthful mode, adding a lot more different puzzles to the like environmental puzzles specifically into it, but also let them like incorporating a lot of the copy abilities that Kirby has into some of those puzzle elements, and I really appreciated that. And some of the stuff is like with the bosses, I really appreciated because, like you said, there's kind of a cheesy way to like figure out a boss, whether it's like using that ability, or what I found was if you have the ice ability, if you use the ice ability on him and freeze him up enough, he'll actually get completely frozen in a statue, and he'll get like freezed and locked and be like stuck there. And then when he breaks out, he takes like more than half of his health off his bar.
Nice.
And does like an insane amount of damage. So and a couple of the other bosses have stuff like that too, where it's like it'll give you like kind of a set of abilities, and like and there's like usually one out of those sets that's kind of like the quote unquote like optimal, or like has some kind of hidden strategy to it that will like kind of do more damage. And it feels like almost like a Mega Man approach, because I know it's like a big thing in Mega Man as well, of like, oh, I have this ability, and this against this boss it's way more potent for whatever for this various reason. And
I like
it's cool.
The Waddle Dee puzzles. Obviously you have like the 3 to 4 or 5 sometimes hidden throughout the level, but all of the kind of tertiary tasks, which are just kind of usually finding a secret section or whatever, they're always different. Like they never repeat. They do the one frequently of like eat 3 of this thing or find 3 of these like basically healing items, but I don't mind those because they're always tailored to the theme of the level, and everything else is always different. Like I just did the racetrack level where you use mouthful mode on a car, but then you have to go through these like race courses, and like one of them is finish the first course in under 20 seconds, which was brutal. It's honestly probably the hardest challenge that the game has had yet.
You gotta find the shortcuts. There's some like hidden shortcuts on some of those tracks. It's cool.
And it's cool. I like that they tailor the stuff to the level or to what you're doing, or the mouthful mode section of the level really well. I think they tailor it all together really well. It's just it is like a very jolly package.
Yeah, it's a very jolly package, and like you said up front, like this to me is. Well, I would not say it's like, I would say it's on the same echelon of 3D World. It gives me a lot of those feelings and like vibes from playing it. And like it's like it definitely feels like, at least at this moment, it's like the closest we'll get to having like a proper sequel to a 3D World game. And like honestly, I would be super down if Nintendo just went like, hey, Kirby can do the 3D World sort of esque thing, or maybe take Yoshi for like a weird 3D World style platforming spin, and like that like them kind of using that idea. Because this is what it feels like. Because that's kind of what this game feels like in a way. Is like it feels like a potpourri of like Mario ideas, and while Mario games have done them way better, this game still uses all of those in very fun ways because of
Kirby. It does them the Kirby way,
because it does them the Kirby way exactly. And it's a lot of fun. It's compared to like literally like the last decade of Kirby games, it is like bar none. Easily like one of the best Kirby games there's been, like in like
music's
years.
Great, the visuals are great.
It
feels really good to play.
We something I want to bring up here, and I feel like it's not mentioned enough in like people talking about this game, is the weird ass opening of this game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because like that's the thing, and it threw me off because again, if you go on youtube.com/irrational passions, there's a viewpoints of me and Quinn playing the demo, which in the demo is like 3 levels from that first zone. It doesn't show you as much as that's what's in there. Like it doesn't tell you anything about the Waddle Dee town and the Waddle Dee. Like you can unlock Waddle Dees, but it doesn't tell you like, oh, this is town that you're like sending them back to build up this town and rebuild.
Yeah, which is great.
It doesn't show you the overworld or the challenge stuff. It's just like it's like 2 levels from the first world, and then you fight the big gorilla boss. The other thing they don't show is that cutscene that happens when you first get the car. So there's a scene that happens
I forgot about this.
That is just like, so you do kind of this little opening tutorial level that's also in the demo, the little arrival zone, and at the end of it, it's kind of, it shows a titular sequence where Kirby sucks up the car and becomes Carby. I said Carby the first time. It is Carby. And you drive through the sequence in the car for the first time, and you use the car, and you get through the level, and then it cuts to this cutscene of, I'm just straight up just gonna put it in the video version of this podcast.
Yeah, please.
I'm just gonna put this full ass raw, and you get to watch it for this time. I don't think that'll play as well in the audio version, so sorry, audio people. You probably won't get this, but. Just plays a 90s like rock ballad, Japanese, like smooth Japanese woman vocals and everything, while Kirby is like vored over a car and looking at the ruins of like a human society.
Yeah, like driving across a bridge while the sun is setting.
Yeah,
and he's just looking like, happy as can be.
And he's just like bobbing his head while he's like sitting next to this huge dilapidated skyscraper that's like all grown over. And
it is like a metaphor for.
You're just like, what is this?
It is like the pure juxtaposition of Kirby, who is like this adorable pink plump that also swallows and kills things whole.
It's a black hole. Yeah.
I was like, this is the wildest intro Kirby has ever had. Yeah, for sure.
It definitely grabs your attention because it's watching these sequences of Kirby like literally wrapped around a car,
just stretched over this car,
and he's just like driving and kind of bopping through these like ruins.
Yeah, he's like shaking his head. You see his eyes like do the little smiley closed thing. It's like this is weird. This is a weird way to set the tone.
Yeah, this is so insane, and that
which makes me think that like this is like dystopia Japan post-apocalyptic world. Humans have died.
That's been like one of my things of like as I get deeper and deeper into the game, and like you're still in like there's they kind of like layer on the like there is some pretty typical like zones of like you said there's a snow world as you get into the later ones it's like a snow world and there's like a desert one, but it still has all these like ruins of human society like layered throughout these levels. So I'm waiting to get to like this final point and see if they ever explain that at all, or maybe it's like one of those weird or there's going to be like some weird YouTuber like 4-hour video of like explaining the lore of why these ruins existed, and like we translated all the weird signs that are in the world of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, figuring out what this means. And it's like, what in the world?
Yeah, it's very jolly.
It's very jolly.
It makes you smile for sure. Yeah, and it like I'm always a sucker for a world map. It's got that 3D world style world map, but you're flying around on a star, so I get to like channel some Kirby air ride energy in the back of my head. Mm-hmm. I love it. I think it is like it feels like they kind of took the blueprint of 3D World and applied it to Kirby, but not in like a derivative way of like I want to see more level-based 3D platformers like these two games for sure, and I'm happy that they both exist.
Yeah, and it's just how I was very impressed even right out the gate of like how intuitive it felt just to like translate Kirby into like the kind of 3D controlling environment. I was pretty impressed for that, how like
Yeah,
you pick, and like even having played 2D Kirby games for many years, like I've played pretty much. I don't think I played every single Kirby game, but I played. Shout out to 2018 where I reviewed Kirby Star Allies. It was like the second. I think it was the second video review I ever did for the site. And then there was years of 3DS games that were all pretty much the same game. They kind of all blended together, and then this game really does feel fresh, and like, but still has all of that Kirby stuff that you at least liked from those earlier games, and brings and adds a lot of fun new things. Like I really do like the up, even though there's not like a lot of completely different abilities, and even in those like later Kirby games on the 3DS, like it was cool that there was like almost like a full-on Smash Brothers level move set to some of those copy abilities in those later games. Like these some of these moves do not have as much complexity as that, but I think they get away with that by having those multi-tiered upgrades where
and there are like good secrets with the like moves that you can do with the abilities that are cool. Like not everyone, but like this when you're the level 2 sword, you can like dash and then you do the stab and then jump and you'll do like an uppercut and lift enemies in the air. And like the game doesn't tell you that at any point, but I was using that to like kind of move faster. And then when I saw that it was like incorporated into the moveset of that ability, I'm like, okay, cool. This is like kind of canonizing this kind of dash jump.
Yeah. And some of the other abilities have cool stuff like tattoo, like the ice one, where you like Kirby like naturally is kind of like skating on his feet. And you can kind of like mash the.
And you can skate across water.
Yeah, you can skate across water, and you can mash the button, and it puts like a freezing dome around him, and he like slides around with that. The drill one also, which is like that was like the one thing I didn't know either, but until I did one of those little like side challenges.
The challenges where you can do a circle around something.
You do like a circle while you're drilling underground, and it makes like a big like quake explosion in the circle you make, which is really cool. And like again, I don't want to spoil too many of the higher tier abilities as I'm starting to unlock, but a ton of them have like they either kind of sort of evolve the ability more, or like take the do a new thing, but also like incorporate like some stuff that were in that crazy one. So I guess there's one, I'll say just one, and that's like the fire one, which isn't, I don't think that's like the craziest one, where like you get like the second one where it's like that volcano one, right? You've probably already seen now, where you shoot like little lava blobs and they fire. The final one is like a dragon. It's like Draco fire or something like that, and you get like Kirby gets like a little like purple flaming head with like little dragon wings, and so basically he gets like this big like fire stream that's like insanely long, and like that'll also leave like those kind of like purple flames, and it'll do like damage over time with like if you hit them enough with the flames. But the other move where you're in the air with when you have that fire ability, does like the little fire flame lunge, where that technically used to be two different abilities, I'm pretty sure, in previous Kirby games, where they just combined that into one thing. Where now in that third form, when you do it now, he gets like big dragon wings and just like soars across.
That's awesome. I think they showed that in the
I think it was in one of the trailers. I think it's in one of the trailers, so that's why I was.
Makes more sense now that there are level 3 abilities.
Yeah, there's tier 3, and I haven't unlocked all of them, but I've definitely seen a few of them, and I think they're super fun. There's one. Okay, I'll say one more. It's not technically tier.
I like
tier
you
3.
Can't help it.
Yeah, because they are really cool, and I think this one technically is in tier 3. But if you gotten like it's a normal Kirby ability from a lot of games where it's like the crash, and it makes like the big AOE bomb explosion.
Yeah, I just got the blueprint for the tier 2 ability.
Yeah, so the tier 2 for that one I think is actually really cool, because it kind of is a thing where because you can go in a little test room, and there's like a little like dummy you can like test on. If I don't know if you saw that in that room.
Yes. Yeah.
So I did it, and it's called like Time Crash, and you like Kirby gets like a big like like sand like dial on his head. So I went into that room to see like what it did. I didn't realize it, and then there's like a challenge for that ability, and basically that's where it teaches you what that does to greater effect. And basically what it is you like hold the bomb explosion, and like Kirby like starts going like Super Saiyan basically while he's doing it, and then it makes a big explosion and everything like and it does like straight up like JoJo, like the world, and it's like explodes, everything gets like browned, like time is stopped, and basically and it puts you on a timer where you have to run into enemies, and like you have to like do like a thing where you like run into an enemy which makes them explode, and that resets your timer. So then like the whole challenge is you like putting it's like it gives you 10 seconds, so you have to immediately explode, and then while you're stopped, everything's stopped in time, you're like running from enemy to enemy to keep the like stop time explosion, because doing the stop time in the challenge actually stops the timer on the challenge you're doing. And it's like
cool.
And I was like, damn, that's really cool. That was like a really just cool, silly ability that probably not super practical in most other things, but it'd be cool to see like somebody like figure out a way to like I went into this level with this time crash ability, and it was able to go from the start of the level to the end of this section, or the whole, maybe even the entire level, and do that. But yeah, the game's just it has a lot of fun stuff like
really
that.
Good. Yeah.
And like it's close as we'll get to a 3D World sequel. At least for now, that was my feeling on it, and I appreciate that they're letting, once again, I think it's the help of the Switch being so successful, and a lot of other long running Nintendo franchises having their time to reiterate and completely kind of evolve. I'm glad that they did it with Kirby, because it was definitely one that needed it the most, in my opinion, for a while.
Yeah, now. He's been struggling for a bit, for sure. The 3DS years were not kind to Kirby.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just nice to see. But yeah, I think that's, unless you have any more games to talk about.
I feel like I'm forgetting something, but it's probably not that important. Yeah, it's probably not that important.
Kirby's
the big one.
Kirby's the big one, and we can probably maybe talk about games again in our April episode. I promise our April episode will not be till the very last minute of April, but I will say, like, at least as it looks right now, there doesn't seem like there's a lot of big, at least Nintendo related games. So maybe we'll have to figure.
Maybe we can finally do that. Rank the Smash Brothers trailers.
Yeah, I was thinking of bringing a topic, like some general topic, or like ranking Smash trailers, or ranking something else would be fun. Doing a tier list.
We talked about ranking the Mario Kart 8 tracks as well.
Yeah, ranking Mario Kart 8 tracks. Yeah, so maybe next episode we'll do something like that, because it seems like it may not be. It'll be a little slower.
We're in the dry months
on Nintendo news and games, probably till I think June. Honestly,
May or June.
Yeah, there might be something in May. Maybe we'll have some cool indie games to talk about as well. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks everybody for joining us on a trip to Nintendoland. As always, we appreciate you either watching us on YouTube. Watching us on YouTube.com/RationalPassions, or listening to us on podcast services. However you watch or listen to the show, we appreciate you as always.
Yeah. I got some plugs for you.
Yeah, plug it up.
We got because this is the first Nintendoland. I think actually I might have talked about it on the last Nintendoland. I think it was out by then. IP D&D. If you are not aware,
D&D.
There is a Dungeons and Dragons actual play podcast brought to you by irrationalpassions.com now, with a bunch of people that you like are not on any other shows. Jazz Foster, Topher Edwards. It's now where Tony Horvath and Scott Guthrie are going to live. In the IP hole. So yeah, 3 episodes should be out. Well, the third one should be coming out soon in relation to this episode, and they're coming out once a month. They're long. They're usually about 4 hours in total, so they're beefy. I cut them up into 2 chunks. So look forward to that. We just recorded our 5th episode, so we're nice and ahead of the curve for a little while here. And yeah, it's really great. I'm really proud of it. I put a lot of work into it. I would love it if you're into that sort of thing, if you want to check it out. In the future, there could be video versions. You and I got Helm to Tower. Destiny
Tower. If you're it's probably admittedly not maybe a crossover of Nintendo fans to Destiny 2 fans per se, But maybe if you're just a fan of Irrational Passions, yeah,
check it out.
Helm to Tower, yeah, it's a separate YouTube channel from our main Irrational Passions channel. It's going to be focused on Destiny 2 content. By the time this video goes up, there should be actually another new video on there, but it's going to be more of it's part of our kind of intro series. If you've been there, there's videos that are kind of more introductory to mechanics and things in Destiny, so it might not be the most exciting to end game players, but maybe if you're
coming into it,
if you're coming in and looking to dabble with Destiny 2, I thought, hey, here's some things explaining what's going on here. Me and Alex are probably going to sit down pretty soon here and do some more build videos for things, and also talk about what we hope to see from Destiny later this year.
And we just did a bunch of review discussions for the big review season that's kind of ending. Thank God. Now,
it's ending.
So Elden Ring video would hopefully be up soon, at least in relation to this.
Elden Ring,
and then
Tunic.
We did Tunic, you and I did, and then was there another one, or am I forgetting?
I think there was another one, but I'm forgetting too.
Yeah.
Somewhat recently, we had a lot more. We had a lot of viewpoints. That's my Oscar thing. We'll have some more soon too, probably around this episode. Like stuff to sit down and look at Ghostwire Tokyo, and some other indie games I've been looking at. There's like this Pokemon that I was going to try and play for this, but then apparently is not coming to Switch just yet. But it is on Steam. It's called Koromon, and it's basically like indie Pokemon game. It looks actually pretty cool. Doesn't look too like not thought out, I guess, for lack of better term.
Looks like a good Pokemon clone.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's most of everything. Obviously, check out RPGU and all the other stuff.
Yeah, RPGU
on IPD.
Still trucking. We'll have probably more review discussions soon enough here. Maybe not as much as we've had in the recent weeks, just because, not a lot of video games coming out. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.